All right, Allison, welcome. I'm super excited to have you here. Welcome to Office Hours.
Thanks for having me.
So let's go back to the beginning and tell listeners about your first or early entrepreneurial experience. When did you first have exposure or interest in startups or entrepreneurialism?
So, I come from a family that entrepreneurialism is life. And my dad's an entrepreneur, my sister's an entrepreneur, and naturally, it's something that I just saw for myself, and there was, you know, no other path.
What do you want to share? What your dad or sister's entrepreneurial endeavors are?
Yeah, so my actually it goes into like my previous career where I worked in oil and gas research. And so my dad works he's worked in oil for years. He also started a crash rescue and command center company. My sister's always dabbling in something, and it's one of those things where our family's really creative and we just take opportunities that come along, and we love the build. We love building things and seeing things and being successful at it.
My dad was an entrepreneur also, and my grandparents too, and it was definitely inspiring to me. And I always feel that people misestimate the risk of entrepreneurialism. And so when you see somebody in your family or extended family take a risk, do a startup, do some sort of entrepreneurship, whatever it is, it can help fortify people who might otherwise be afraid to take that leap. Was that your experience too?
I recall back in the 80s when my dad started dabbling in oil and gas, where he was easily making over $1 million a month starting out. And he lost all of it and then
Wow.
started over and started another company. So it's interesting to see those things where you see someone be really, really successful, fail, and then be successful again. And it gives a lot of hope. you know,
Yeah.
Success can be scary, but it doesn't have to be necessarily.
Yeah, one of the things I always look for in startup founders when I'm angel investing is grit. Some sense that that person has something to prove. They want to show the world that that when they ran into some trouble previously, like they were wronged by the world and all the doubters, and they're going to prove everybody wrong. So it sounds like your dad maybe had a little bit of that experience also, and it helped inspire him further.
Yeah, and it inspired me just to continue to push and grow. And he's the kind of person that say yes and then figure it out. And so it's interesting just with where we got started. I have my husband who is the CEO and founder, and he has helped align me or balance me in that kind of a lifestyle. If I'm always like, oh, let's just go, 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 go. Like, let's figure this out. He's like, hold on, let's figure this out on a spreadsheet and look at this responsible and look at the budgets. And so we make a really great partnership because you kind of need that push and pull, because you can't just wild west it all the time.
So I want to get into what it's like to work with your husband. But before we do, give listeners some context. Tell us more generally about Poppi, about your company, the size, the scale, the history. Just bring us up to date on the company.
Yeah, so I started the company a few years ago because I was struggling from a bunch of different health issues. Well, traveling on the road, I didn't feel very good. I always was suffering from different stomach problems, and I was really lethargic. And I just couldn't quite figure out what's going on with me. So I spent about 7 years going to doctors. They couldn't figure it out. And then it's literally what I think a lot of people do is I went online and I Googled how to heal my body naturally. And so I read somewhere that drinking apple cider vinegar could reset and detox my body. And at this point, I was like, oh, yeah, sure. I've heard this is good for you. Well, I was shocked within drinking it for 2 weeks how amazing it made me feel.
Apple cider vinegar.
Apple cider vinegar.
I've never had that.
What? Well, if you've had Poppi, you've had it.
Well, I guess I didn't know. I have had Poppi. I've had orange Poppi, quite a bit of it. So I guess I didn't know I was having apple cider vinegar.
Right.
So it's a natural. Tell us more about the health benefits and how it inspired you to start Poppi.
So apple cider vinegar, it's been around for 400 years. It's nothing new when it comes to its anecdotal health benefits, right? I'm not a doctor, but for me personally, it helps with resetting your gut, right? And 70% of your body's immunity comes from your gut, which in return makes you feel better. It gives you more energy. It helps with heart health, lower cholesterol, all sorts of really amazing things. And it's all natural. The only problem is it tastes absolutely horrible by itself.
Slight problem if you're trying to sell drinks. Okay,
Exactly.
So then what?
So then, I loved the way it made me feel, but I could not stand the taste. And I loved to spend all my free time in the kitchen. And I thought to myself, I can make this taste good. Like, this is easy. I will figure out a way. But for me, I wanted it to taste good and I wanted it to be healthy because it was stemming from these health issues, right? It's, all day long you can throw in sugars and you can, artificial flavors and stuff. But, and then if you really think of the market, if you try to create something, it's really hard to create something that tastes good and is healthy. Usually those don't go together. And so for me, that was key in developing the product. And still to this day, I still formulate every single one of our new flavors, run innovation and all of that fun stuff. So it's still very dear to my heart, but created it, started sharing it with neighbors, with Steven, my dad, all of these people. And I was like, this is amazing. And to your point, you said I've had the orange Poppi and you had no idea there was apple cider vinegar in it.
Right.
So that was the goal. And so we saw that early success that we were almost tricking people and they were getting this better for you soda with health properties and it tasted amazing. And so we really feel like we cracked the code and there was nothing else like it on the market.
Now, I know you were on Shark Tank. I remember seeing you on Shark Tank and I want to hear what that experience was like. But before you were on Shark Tank, how did you fund the business at the very early days? Was it self-funded?
Yeah. So soon after that, we realized that we kind of had something. And so I took it to the farmer's market, like I think a lot of entrepreneurs at that stage in beverage. And we were there about 3 weeks selling. And actually, the Whole Foods buyer came by our booth and said, this is fantastic. You guys have to be in Whole Foods. At this point, we didn't have UPCs or nutritionals or manufacturing. We're still like making it in our kitchen. And I said, Stephen, we have a business here. Let's take our life savings. Let's get, the friends and family loan. My sister, I think, gave us $30,000 and we just poured everything in. Mind you, we had just bought a house. I was 3 months pregnant. I was convincing him, let's quit our job. This is how much I really believed in this.
And what was he doing at the time?
So he worked in oil and gas as well.
Okay. Yeah. And this was in Dallas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were in Dallas.
So tell us more about that kitchen table conversation. Is it fair to say you were trying to convince your husband to do this? Or okay. Okay. So he wasn't immediately on board, it sounds like.
No, not at all.
And so what swayed him?
I think he deep down knew we had something as well. Once again, it goes back to the earlier conversation where I'm the one that we'll figure this out. We got this, no problem. And he's like, we just bought a house. You're pregnant. What are you thinking? And you want to take our life savings and put it into a vinegar drink? You're crazy. And I said, listen, okay, I'll quit my job. I'll do this. And then it got to the point where it's 3 months later, I was like, I'm very pregnant. I need you to quit your job. And at this point, the Whole Foods, we've gotten accepted. We were rolling out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We had the Royal Blues and the Natural Grocers and those people actually really interested. And I said, listen, we can always go back to oil and gas, but I really truly feel like this is our future. Just do it. Convinced him to quit. So I would say within that first year, we put about $90,000 into the business. And then we were growing really, really quick. And it was just locally in Dallas. And I looked at him and I said, guess what? I saw an open casting call for Shark Tank. Now it's time to take it to the next level. And at that time, I think we had done maybe $500,000 in revenue. It was baby business at the time, but big for where we thought we were at the time.
Did he think it was a good idea to go on Shark Tank, or did that also take some persuading?
No, I think at that time we were both all in at that point, and it was about 2 years in when we finally decided to go on Shark Tank, and we were kind of past the concept phase. It was a little bit more proven. Our velocities were great in grocery and in the stores we were in, and so it was just a natural evolution, I think. And I don't think we realized how rare it is to actually get on the show and then to actually get a deal. But that naive was good for us. You know what I mean?
That, by the way, a lot of entrepreneurs make that point. It's a great one, which is sometimes naivete is really valuable. It's you don't know. Of course, we can start a drinks business. Of course, it can be a better for you drinks business. Why not? Of course, we can get on Shark Tank. Of course, we can raise money. That. So the suspension of disbelief sometimes is pretty important to have that courage to forge ahead.
I agree.
So you were on Shark Tank. You got an offer from Rowan, who was a guest shark, and you got sort of lucky in that sense because you were on with a guest shark who had a lot of experience in beverage. He invested, was it 500,000?
It was 400,000 for
400,000.
20%, and at the time, for basically kind of a proven where 500,000 revenue was a great deal, and I don't think we even skipped a beat. We were like, deal. I mean, you can't really at that point get better than Rohan in the shark ability in that whole world.
Right.
So it was kind of a match made.
And so then fast forward to today, you then have raised from other VCs and angel investors. Tell listeners where the company's at today.
Yeah. So, since then, Poppi, we actually, previous to that, so to add some context to it, we were a different brand called Mother Beverage when we got the deal on Shark Tank. And when we went on, we got the deal, and Ro was like, listen, you have a fantastic product, but your branding sucks. Mm-hmm. Like, we got a lot of work to do here. And also, you can't trademark the word mother. And so we took about 8 months off. We stepped back and we did a full rebrand, and we named it Poppi. And then we launched March of 2020, and right in the middle of a pandemic, which sounds a little scary, but, for multiple reasons, it's been successful for us. But, with that said, Poppi now is the fastest growing non-alcoholic beverage in the nation. And we're just killing it, forging this new category of functional pop that's really, really, really on trend right now.
Now, a lot of entrepreneurs have a similar experience where an investor tells them they need to change something. You need to change your sales strategy. You're an executive in the C-suite. I mean, in your case, Ro basically said you got to change something pretty core to the company, the name and the brand. How did you take that input when you first heard it?
I think at first it's almost like renaming your child. Mm-hmm. You've put so much time and effort into it, but there's a part of us that actually believed in who he was. His nickname is the brand father, and we kind of just went for it. And I didn't really want to look back, because up until that point, what I don't think a lot of people see as an entrepreneur, I mean, we had quit our jobs. Stephen had gotten like a second one at night. We had a kid, and you're like working and hustling and, basically living off of, food stamps, right, for 2 years. And you're not focused on the brand. You're focused on getting caps on bottles and getting it on the shelf. And you're not really thinking of the core of, for example, I love to use this example, is you have Nike and you have ASICS, which are both fantastic products, but who has the brand? Nike does. And so I don't think we were focusing on the right things necessarily. And so when we added the layer of the rebrand and the rename and really listened, I think it really set us up for success.
Actually, you just made a really great point, which is sometimes an investor can have just a little bit of distance from the company to give some perspective. Like, I was talking to another founder today who hasn't raised any venture capital, and his software business is doing awesome. It's growing so quickly. And I said, how come you haven't raised venture capital? And he said, well, I raised VC for my last company, which I sold. And VCs, I found them to be kind of a pain in the neck, and I didn't want to give up control. And also, we're able to move so much more quickly and iterate more quickly. We have no board meetings, et cetera. He was like talking about how great it is to not have any investors. And I didn't want to contradict him, but I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, yeah, that's true. That's all the downside, but there are some real upsides too, of having other smart people thinking about your company, invested literally in the success of your company, and providing that perspective from 20,000 feet or 50,000 feet, which can make all the difference. So you raised a venture round from Rose venture firm, Kavu, and then from other VCs. And full disclosure, everyone, I'm a tiny little investor in Poppi because I'm a limited partner in the venture fund that invested in Poppi. So, and I'm also a customer. And orange is my favorite flavor. So where the business is today, here we are about, a year and a half after the relaunch. COVID still rages on, but you've done very well through COVID because you're direct to consumer and also through retail. You're not in Are you in restaurants also, or no?
No, I think with launching during the pandemic, we really haven't had that opportunity. And so I think for next year, it's definitely a focus. But for us, we are about 30% Amazon and 70% retail.
Okay. So what are the biggest business challenges that you face today?
I think, I don't know if it's a challenge or if it's an unexpected thing that's been in our favor, but since we did launch, for example, we launched, and I don't think we ever thought we were going to be so heavy on e-com or being so digital forward right out the gate. Right. I think those are things that companies maybe dabble in a little bit, maybe a year or so in, where they really focus on it. But it kind of gave us the opportunity to focus on it first because sampling opportunities went out the window. You had events go out the window, in person, everything went out the window. So we were kind of forced to then pivot and literally focus 100% on e-com and build up that business because we had authorizations in nationwide Whole Foods and Sprouts. But at that time, people were really worried about toilet paper versus, I think we were supposed to be cut in April, and they were like, listen, you're not getting cut in right now. Like, we'll talk to you in 2 months once people stop freaking out. And so I think, that was a really big challenge to have to pivot kind of overnight. But I think it ended up playing in our favor because now, like, our Amazon business is like 1/3 of the business, right? And it's widely successful, and it has opened up the doors into, now we leaned into influencer marketing sooner. Um, you know, we really have cracked the code on TikTok as a brand on the paid side and on just the posting side, right? And I think to break into TikTok as a brand is really hard. And so we have a lot of brands coming to us like, how is this working? I've had a couple of videos go viral, over 16 million views, and at the end of the day, it's just talking about me and the product and my story, similar to what I did earlier. And it's just connecting with the consumer on an authentic level. And so I feel like we've done really good at that. Now, with the world coming back next year, I'm excited to get into those guerrilla roots marketing, out in the streets, sampling, while keeping our digital presence.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's going to be hard to find something that scales as well offline, though, as the viral growth of online. But I understand why the two complement each other. So, was the TikTok strategy entirely, conceived organically and executed organically, or did you work with agencies? How did you lean into TikTok?
So, me as a founder, I was obsessed with TikTok. So it's kind of been my brainchild or my baby, where I would lie awake at night trying to figure out how could we break through. I just knew there were millions of people that we could get the message out about Poppi, but how do we connect with them? And so I personally took it on. I didn't want any of my team wasting their time, and I was posting videos and coming up with content, and I would do it on the weekends. And finally, one night on a Friday night, I sat down, had no makeup on, my hair wasn't done, and I just literally did a less than 1 minute video. Hey guys, I'm Allison, the founder of Poppi. I got a deal on Shark Tank, and it was for my product Poppi. And I literally just went into our story, and I woke up the next day and it was over 1 million views. I think we did over $100,000 on Amazon in 2 days.
Amazing.
And today I'm still the highest converter we've ever seen. And it was just talking about the product and talking about my story. And so is what we found, and what we've built off of that on TikTok is that authentic story, and just talking about how amazing the product is and the health benefits and how it's a great soda replacement, or if you're looking for a great cocktail mixer. At the end of the day, we're not doing the high gloss ads and all those things, and people, I think, appreciate it and they are responding to it. And what's exciting is we're hitting our exact consumer, and we're driving into retail with it. People will say, I just saw your video, I just bought you at Target. So it's hitting all these different buckets that we're really excited about seeing.
That's amazing. I mean, these social platforms have such incredible reach and such incredible algorithms that are, we talk a lot about the bad of these algorithms kind of sending people down conspiracy theory rabbit holes, for example, but they can also surface a video like yours to many, many millions of people that would be interested in that product or learning about the founder entrepreneurial story. And that's obviously why that video, and others after it accomplished what they did. So let's talk about the brand for a moment. There are a lot of ways to position this brand and the product. And I'm interested in what you've decided to emphasize and what you've decided to not. I mean, it is a drink. It is healthy. You can argue, you can position it lots of ways, that it's refreshing, or that it's a good value, or that it's makes you feel better, or that it doesn't. You can argue the negative, what it doesn't have in it. Tell us about the positioning and how you arrived at that, and just why you're positioning it the way you are.
So I think it's interesting when people have asked this question, and two things that are important to clarify is when it comes to brand positioning is there's your product and there's your brand. And a lot of people don't realize that those are two separate things. So our product is a better for you soda that has apple cider vinegar, 5 grams of sugar or less, prebiotics in it. It's good for gut health and immunity, right? That's the product. And then you have the brand. Well, what is the brand? Well, Poppi, we like to be the modern soda that connects this generation through great taste, healthy lifestyle, pop culture, being relevant, being fashion, right? Making people happy. So you have to look at the things very separate and the way you market them separately. So, for example, in retail, we'll probably market the product quite a bit, educating the consumer on what Poppi is, what are you drinking. But to the masses, when we're working with influencer marketing and they're talking about it, you want to work with the influencers. We had J-Lo work with us last year, right? You want to be the coolest, hottest new thing. But on top of it, education's a really big piece because we are $2.49 on shelf. We're not 99 cents like a cola or a Dr. Pepper or something like that. So education comes into play. So there's a lot of factors that come into it, and we're actually I think do better than most, but it's something that's always an ongoing process in building the brand and the positioning and optimizing.
So we have had, we had Dana Trout, the founder and CEO of Health Aid Kombucha, on the show here. Do you lean into the parallels to kombucha, or do you not think of kombucha
Sure.
as a competitor? What is
Yeah.
kombucha to you?
So Poppi is a very interesting thing because we are this new category of functional pop. So we pull consumers from kombucha, sparkling water, and soda. It's a lot easier to pull over that kombucha drinker than it is that soda drinker that's been drinking 3 sodas a day their entire life, right? So we do see them as a competitor, and we'd love to take the kombucha drinkers over. But with that said, they're very different. So kombucha is a probiotic and Poppi is a prebiotic. And the differences are probiotics are living organisms that are in your gut. People take probiotics in yogurts and kefirs. Well, prebiotic is actually the food for the probiotic or your current gut flora you have in your gut. And so it's really the food for your gut. And so if you think of a garden, for example, Poppi is like the fertilizer for the garden. So it's you kind of need both to have a happy and healthy gut. So I don't knock on kombucha that much. I'm still a fan, but I still say grab a Poppi.
I mean, it's amazing how much innovation there's been in this category in a short period of time. I mean, even sparkling water, a category that it's hard to imagine. 5 years ago, it'd be hard to imagine much innovation coming. And LaCroix, for example, just became this massive, massive company, and then now all the major ecom brands have their own private label competitor. I mean, Amazon has their own brand that I'm forgetting right now. You would know it, but what's Amazon's sparkling water brand?
I didn't even know they had a sparkling
Oh
water
yeah, they have a
brand.
private label sparkling water brand,
That is insane.
which I bet they put on the same page as yours, which is actually a good segue.
It
Which
is.
is, let's talk about Amazon. I mean, I'm sure you're grateful for the distribution that they provide, but what Amazon
It's a
giveth or
toughie.
Google giveth, they can take it. So yeah, how do you think about Amazon, and your company's dependence on them?
It's something that we decided early on. It was a very strategic and deliberate decision to go 100% Amazon. I think it's like 75% of family households have Amazon Prime now. And I think that number probably is even higher. And it's one of those things that it also converts in retail. Someone's in retail, they're standing in front of us at a Target. they want to look at the reviews, they're going to pull up Amazon at the end of the
Right.
day. So it was very deliberate in us doing that. And since then, we've just leaned in, and it's been so successful for us. And so I don't see that going away. Is it a headache? Absolutely. Amazon verse and the black hole of Amazon is kind of a
And
nightmare.
I mean, do you
But
ever wake up in the morning and Amazon just changed something about their algorithm?
oh,
And
all the time.
okay.
Yeah, but that's why we have a great ecom team. We
Mhm.
have, an agency that helps us with our Amazon business, and then we have a great growth hacker that's just like on it nonstop to
Right.
just like daily make sure we're monitoring it. But I think that's just the world of ecom nowadays. And at the end of the day, it's, I don't see us, putting our foot off the gas pedal anytime soon.
Yeah, we had on the show Keith Richmond from Boosted Commerce, and Boosted is one of the companies that's acquiring Amazon sellers and kind of rolling them up into super brands. And he has kind of the same attitude, which is like, yeah, obviously it's stinks to be dependent on one company for so much, but what are you going to do? Amazon is the internet if you're in retail, so it is what it is. Um,
Yeah.
what is it like working with your husband now? I mean, pros and cons. What's it like?
Sure. I think over the last like 7 years, we've worked together, whether it was in our previous job and then now. And I think that we have just like a really good rhythm. I think the hardest part is realizing that we're actually married um, and that we don't just talk about business on date night, but we truly have a great respect for each other and understand that I'm really good at certain things and he's really good at certain other things, and to respect those lanes. Um, and at the end of the day, business is a lot easier with a partner. And I try to tell other entrepreneurs that is, it's nice to have someone to lean on. It's nice to someone that fills in those gaps that maybe you're not so good at. And then to do it with another person just makes those wins that much better. So I wouldn't change it. We have three, well, almost three kids. I'm 7 months pregnant
Oh
right
wow!
now, but
Congratulations.
thank you. We truly believe in growing our family and our business at the same time. And so, anyone out there that's curious, I say go for it. But I know it's maybe not for everybody.
So I have a startup with a family member. One of my startups is called Recon Food, and my 16-year-old daughter is my co-founder.
Oh, that's
And so
amazing.
she and I run a food social network together, and it's an app it's sort of like Instagram but for food. And the thinking is, if you're passionate about cooking or eating out at restaurants, you don't always want to be sharing food on Instagram because it's kind of weird to be the food person on Instagram. And so
Totally.
food is a big enough category that it deserves its own social network. And so that's what Recon Food is. It's to reconnect over food. Um,
That's so
but
cool.
working with my daughter is fun and rewarding and also a little weird. I drove her to school this morning, and we had a meeting in the car on the way to school and talked about a couple of things that that we needed. We're changing our logo, and where's the designer? Have the new designs come through for that? When's the next meeting on this new feature, etc. So
I love it.
it's definitely a positive experience, but it can have some challenges too. So I usually ask entrepreneurs about the geography of their startup and what impact being in Dallas or Los Angeles or San Francisco or wherever may have had on the company's success. Now, it's a little bit different now during COVID because so many companies have gone virtual. So, where is Poppy really based? How important is
Sure.
that to Poppy's success? And how are you thinking about um, the business climate in this new remote hybrid work from home world?
Yeah, so Poppy was founded in Dallas, Texas. And I've always said this and truly believe it. If we would have started anywhere else, I don't know if we'd be so successful, because Texans love Texas products
Mm,
and they rally and they get behind and they love local. And we're not, and for a better for you product to come out of Texas is a lot easier to talk about than there's the 100 out of New York and LA, right? So I do stand by that and I love it. But with that said, we're actually in the middle of moving our headquarters down to Austin for talent retention, right? It's a lot easier to get the LA and the New York people to move to Austin
yeah.
versus Dallas. But I think we'll stay true to who we are and stay a Texas company. But I think that played a lot into our success.
And are you back in the office and having employees in the office, or are you still remote?
So we never didn't go into the office, and just to clarify, it's in our office in Dallas. It was just me and my husband. So obviously we were together all the time, and we had three other people: a graphic designer and two young girls that helped us on social, and everyone was vaccinated. It was simple, right? Five of us, and the rest of our team are in sales and they're across the country. But the reason we are moving to Austin is because I want to require people to start coming into office. I think it's more important for, say, marketing than it is sales. So I don't think there's a hard and fast rule that we're going to implement across the board, but I think there's just something about being creative and being in a room, whether if everyone doesn't move, trying to find some kind of hybrid situation moving forward.
Well, Allison, congratulations on the growth of the company. If listeners want to buy Poppy, where should they buy it, on Amazon or on your website? Where should they buy Poppy?
So you can get it on Amazon. We actually check out directly from our website on Amazon, which is really amazing. But you can also get us in Target nationwide and Sprouts and Whole Foods and Publix. And now we're looking even into this next year to do some really big launches with places like Kroger and Safeway. So excited to have you guys check it out.
Awesome. Congratulations. Good luck with baby three.
Thank you.
And thanks so much. Be well.